Heracles, the greatest hero Greece ever knew. Long before the names of Achilles and Odysseus echoed across the ancient world, there was another hero, a man whose strength became legend, a warrior who wrestled monsters with his bare hands, a traveler who crossed the boundaries between the world of the living and the realm of the dead, a hero whose name would survive for more than 3,000 years. The Greeks called him Heracles. The Romans would later know him as Hercules. His story begins with a jealous goddess. The wrath of Hera. Although Zeus ruled Olympus, he was far from a faithful husband. Among his many mortal lovers was a noblewoman named Alcmene. She was renowned for her wisdom, kindness, and extraordinary beauty. When Zeus saw her, he fell deeply in love. Disguising himself as her husband, Zeus visited Alcmene, and from their union a child was conceived. That child was Heracles. But no secret remained hidden from Hera, queen of the gods, protector of marriage. She discovered Zeus's betrayal almost immediately. Her anger was not directed at Zeus. Instead, it fell upon the innocent child. From the moment Heracles was born, Hera vowed to destroy him. The serpents in the cradle. One peaceful night, while Heracles slept beside his twin brother Iphicles, Hera sent two enormous serpents into the nursery. Their scales shimmered beneath the moonlight. Their fangs dripped deadly venom. Silently, they slithered toward the sleeping infants. The household guards heard nothing. The servants saw nothing. Only the babies remained inside the darkened room. The snakes struck. Iphicles awoke screaming in terror. But Heracles only laughed. With the strength of a full-grown warrior already flowing through his tiny body, the infant reached out. One hand seized the first serpent, the other grabbed the second. The snakes twisted desperately, their massive bodies wrapped around the baby's arms. It made no difference. Heracles squeezed. The room fell silent. When the servants rushed inside, they found the infant smiling peacefully, holding two lifeless serpents. Word spread across Greece. This child was no ordinary mortal, a hero in the making. As Heracles grew older, his strength became impossible to measure. He hunted wild lions before reaching adulthood. He could bend iron with his bare hands. He outran horses. He shattered massive oak trees with a single blow. Yet despite his power, Heracles was gentle. He respected teachers, protected travelers, defended villages from dangerous beasts. Many believed he would become Greece's greatest king, but Hera had not forgotten him. Years later, she launched her cruelest attack. The madness one evening, Hera clouded Heracles' mind with divine madness. Unable to distinguish friend from foe, the mighty hero believed monsters surrounded him. In his delusion, he committed an unimaginable tragedy. When the madness finally lifted, Heracles looked around in horror. His own family lay dead. The realization crushed him. The strongest man in Greece collapsed in grief. He had defeated monsters, but he could not defeat the darkness placed within his own mind. Seeking forgiveness, Heracles traveled to the oracle of Delphi. The priestess delivered Apollo's command. If he wished to cleanse himself of this terrible crime, he must serve King Eurystheus and complete 12 impossible labors. The first labor, the Nemean lion. Deep within the forests of Nemea lived a beast unlike any other. Its golden hide could not be pierced by arrows. Swords shattered against its skin. Entire villages had been abandoned because of its attacks. Many hunters had entered its cave. None returned. Heracles carried only his bow, a sword, and a heavy olive wood club. When his arrows bounced harmlessly from the lion's hide, he understood this battle would not be won with weapons. He blocked one entrance to the cave with enormous boulders, then entered through the other. Inside the darkness, the lion charged. The impact echoed like thunder. Heracles wrapped both arms around the beast's neck. The struggle lasted for hours. Rock walls cracked beneath their strength. Dust filled the cave. At last, the lion collapsed. Heracles had strangled the invincible beast with his bare hands. Using one of the lion's own claws, he skinned it and wore its hide as armor. From that day forward, the lion's skin became his legendary cloak. The second labor, the Lernaean Hydra. Near the swamps of Lerna lurked another nightmare. The Hydra, a gigantic serpent with many heads. Each time one head was cut off, two more grew in its place. Its breath poisoned the air. Its blood was lethal. Even standing too close could mean death. Heracles soon realized ordinary combat was useless. Every strike made the monster stronger. Fortunately, he was not alone. His nephew, Iolaus, joined the battle. Whenever Heracles cut off one head, Iolaus immediately sealed the neck with fire. The heads stopped growing. One by one, the monster weakened. Finally, only the immortal head remained. Heracles severed it. Unable to destroy it completely, he buried it beneath a massive rock. Then he dipped his arrows into the Hydra's poisonous blood. From that moment onward, every arrow he fired carried deadly venom. The third labor, the Golden Hind. Unlike the previous monsters, the next challenge required patience instead of strength. Heracles was ordered to capture the sacred Golden Hind of Artemis. The magical deer could outrun any hunter. It never tired. It crossed rivers without slowing. It leaped mountains with effortless grace. Rather than chasing recklessly, Heracles tracked it for nearly an entire year, across forests, snow-covered peaks, and endless valleys. At last, when the hind paused to drink from a quiet stream, Heracles gently captured it without causing harm. Even Artemis admired his restraint. Sometimes, true strength meant knowing when not to fight. The first 3 labors were complete, but far greater challenges still awaited him. A monstrous boar, birds with bronze feathers, a stable so filthy that no human could clean it, an enraged bull, savage horses that fed on human flesh, the fearsome Amazons, the cattle of a giant, the golden apples of immortality, and finally, a journey no living hero had ever survived, a descent into the underworld itself. There, Heracles would face Cerberus, the 3-headed guardian of the dead, and prove why the Greeks remembered him not simply as a hero, but as the greatest hero of them all. The final labors of Heracles and the road to immortality. The people of Greece believed no man could equal Heracles. By now, he had slain the invincible Nemean lion, he had defeated the deadly Hydra, he had captured the sacred Golden Hind without shedding a single drop of blood. Yet King Eurystheus remained unsatisfied. Each victory only inspired him to invent an even more impossible challenge. He hoped that sooner or later, the greatest hero in Greece would finally meet his end. But destiny had other plans. The 4th labor, the Erymanthian boar, high in the snow-covered mountains of Arcadia, roamed a gigantic wild boar. Its tusks could split oak trees, its charge crushed stone walls. Entire villages had been abandoned because of its relentless attacks. Hunters who entered its territory never returned. Heracles climbed into the frozen mountains alone. For days, he tracked the beast through deep snow and icy forests. When the boar finally charged, the mountain echoed with its deafening roar. Instead of fighting it head-on, Heracles used his intelligence. He chased the creature higher and higher until it became trapped in deep snow. The exhausted animal could no longer move. With astonishing strength, Heracles lifted the struggling boar onto his shoulders and carried it all the way back to King Eurystheus. Legend says the terrified king was so frightened that he hid inside a giant bronze storage jar when he saw the beast approaching. The 5th labor, the Augean stables. This labor seemed almost insulting. King Augeas owned thousands of cattle. For more than 30 years, their enormous stables had never been cleaned. The filth stretched for acres. The smell poisoned the air. Eurystheus believed no one could possibly clean the stables in a single day. Heracles never picked up a shovel. Instead, he studied the land. Nearby flowed 2 mighty rivers. Using his immense strength, he broke through the riverbanks and redirected both rivers directly into the stables. Water rushed through the buildings like a flood. Within hours, 3 decades of filth disappeared. The impossible had been accomplished not through strength, but through clever thinking. The 6th labor, the Stymphalian birds. Near Lake Stymphalus lived terrifying creatures unlike ordinary birds. Their feathers were made of razor-sharp bronze. Their beaks could pierce armor. They attacked entire villages from the sky. Heracles found himself unable to approach because the swamp was too dangerous. The goddess Athena came to his aid. She gave him a pair of magical bronze rattles crafted by Hephaestus. Climbing a nearby hill, Heracles shook them with all his might. The thunderous noise startled the birds into flight. As they filled the sky, Heracles fired arrow after arrow, each one tipped with the poisonous blood of the Hydra. The monstrous flock scattered forever. The skies became peaceful once again. The seventh labor, the Cretan bull. On the island of Crete roamed a magnificent white bull sent long ago by Poseidon. Its beauty had once inspired awe. Now it brought destruction. The enraged animal trampled farms and terrified entire cities. Heracles confronted the beast on an open plain. The bull lowered its horns and charged. The ground shook beneath its weight. At the last moment, Heracles seized both horns. Muscles strained, dust swirled. The struggle lasted until the mighty creature finally collapsed in exhaustion. Heracles led it peacefully back across the sea. The eighth labor, the mares of Diomedes. Far to the north ruled King Diomedes. His greatest pride was not his army, but 4 terrifying horses. These were no ordinary animals. They had been trained to eat human flesh. Travelers who disappeared near the kingdom rarely returned. Heracles defeated Diomedes in battle. According to the ancient legends, he fed the cruel king to his own horses. Freed from their master's influence, the mares became calm and obedient. The curse had ended. The ninth labor, the belt of Hippolyta. The next challenge led Heracles into the land of the Amazons. These legendary warrior women were among the finest fighters in the ancient world. Their queen, Hippolyta, possessed a magical belt given by Ares himself. When Heracles explained his mission, Hippolyta willingly offered the belt as a gesture of respect. But Hera once again interfered. Disguised among the Amazons, she spread a false rumor. "The stranger has come to kidnap your queen!" Chaos erupted. Believing they had been betrayed, the Amazons attacked. A fierce battle followed. When the fighting ended, Heracles departed with the belt, but sorrowfully, knowing that deception had turned peace into tragedy. The 10th labor, the cattle of Geryon. Heracles now journeyed farther than any Greek hero before him. His destination lay beyond the known world. There lived Geryon, a gigantic warrior with 3 bodies joined at the waist. Guarding his magnificent red cattle stood the monstrous 2-headed dog Orthrus, brother of Cerberus. Heracles first defeated Orthrus, then the giant shepherd Eurytion. Finally, he faced Geryon himself. 3 warriors attacked at once, 3 spears, 3 swords, 3 voices roaring together. Heracles drew a single poisoned arrow. It pierced all 3 bodies. The giant collapsed. The cattle belonged to Heracles. The 11th labor, the golden apples. Now, Eurystheus demanded something believed utterly impossible, the golden apples of the Hesperides. These sacred fruits granted immortality. They grew in a hidden garden at the very edge of the world. Guarding them was the 100-headed dragon Ladon. No mortal knew the garden's location. Heracles wandered for months. He questioned sea gods, river spirits, even the ancient titan Prometheus, who still remained chained to the Caucasus. Heracles killed the eagle tormenting Prometheus and freed the suffering Titan. In gratitude, Prometheus revealed the secret. "Do not steal the apples yourself. Ask Atlas." Atlas, the Titan carrying the heavens. Heracles approached him respectfully. "I will hold the sky while you retrieve the apples." Atlas gladly accepted. For the first time in ages, the Titan laid down his impossible burden. He returned carrying the glowing apples, then smiled. "I think I'll leave you holding the heavens forever." Heracles pretended to agree. "But first, would you hold them for one moment while I adjust my cloak?" Atlas laughed. He lifted the heavens once again. Heracles picked up the apples, thanked the Titan, and quietly walked away. Even the strongest hero knew that wit often defeated strength. The 12th labor, Cerberus' one final challenge remained, the greatest of them all. Heracles had to enter the underworld and return alive. No mortal had ever done such a thing. Crossing the river Styx, Heracles entered the silent kingdom ruled by Hades. Ghostly souls drifted endlessly through the shadows. The air felt cold. time itself seemed to stand still. Finally, he reached the gates of the underworld. There waited Cerberus, the monstrous guardian, 3 enormous heads, eyes burning like fire, a serpent's tail lashed behind him, venom dripped from every mouth. Hades appeared. "If you can subdue him without using weapons, you may take him." Heracles nodded. He removed his club, his sword, his bow. He stepped forward with empty hands. Cerberus lunged. The struggle shook the underworld itself. One head bit his shoulder, another clawed his armor, the third roared so loudly that lost souls fled in terror. Heracles tightened his grip. Minute after minute, the beast weakened. Finally, Cerberus surrendered. The impossible had been achieved. A mortal hero had conquered death's own guardian without spilling a drop of blood. When Heracles returned to the surface leading Cerberus on a chain, King Eurystheus could scarcely believe his eyes. The 12 labors were complete. The hero who had begun as a broken man seeking redemption had become the greatest champion Greece would ever know. Years later, after countless more adventures, Heracles met his own tragic end. But death could not claim him forever. As his mortal body perished, Zeus welcomed his son to Mount Olympus. There, Heracles became immortal. The hero who had once walked among ordinary people now sat beside the gods themselves. His courage, his perseverance, and his willingness to face impossible odds had earned him a place among the stars. Yet while Heracles became a legend, another story was unfolding across the Aegean Sea. It would begin with a single golden apple, a beauty contest among goddesses, and a prince named Paris.